I don't really have a plan for how this video is going to go. I usually know what I'm going to say before I make a video, but I just don't really have a plan. I wasn't expecting to make this video. This video was not part of plans that I had made for this pregnancy. But unfortunately, this is just the easiest way to explain what happened so that I don't have to keep repeating myself to everyone who asks what happened or what's going on or if I'm okay. So I'm hoping that everyone can just see this video and learn what happened. I think the more I talk about it, I think it gets easier, but it's also like right now everything is still so new and fragile, and I guess it's just hard to talk about without getting upset. But I wanted to talk about it now so that when I am recovering and grieving and I'm getting better with this whole thing that happened, I don't have to sit down and relive it again. So I just want to do it now while it's still fresh so that I can get on with grieving, not necessarily move on from this, but I need to just deal with the pain. So as you see from the title, Tyler and I have lost our baby at 9 weeks exactly. I don't know what caused this. Everything seemed to be going perfect. We even got to see our beautiful baby. We got an ultrasound at 7 weeks and the baby's right here. We got to see the heart flicker and the heartbeat was 139, 140, so it was lower than Brielle's. So everything was good. It was great. So we were excited, and that's why we decided to announce to everyone in social media that we were expecting. As you guys know, we have been trying for 2 years before we got pregnant, and so we were just really excited to finally be pregnant and just yell it from the rooftops that we were pregnant and expecting. So everything was great. Everything was good. We let our guard down and told everybody. And then on 9 weeks, the week of 9 weeks, I had another appointment with my OB, and this appointment was to hear the heartbeat. And that was a Tuesday. It was December 18th at 3:30 in the afternoon. Tyler could not make it to that baby appointment, so I decided to bring Brielle. I thought it would be fun for her to come with me to see the baby and hear the heartbeat. So I brought Brielle with me. Little did I know what was about to happen. So I brought Brielle, and when we went in, my back is hurting and I'm in my PJs. So we went into that appointment, and she did an exam, like an internal exam on me, said my cervix looked good, everything was okay. We went over my blood work that I had done and everything came back great. No worries with any of my blood work. And then we got to finish the appointment with the fetal Doppler, and she searched for about 10 minutes. We couldn't find the heartbeat, and the night before my appointment, I was trying to find the heartbeat on my Doppler too at home, and I searched for like a half hour. I couldn't find it, and I ended up crying, but Tyler just told me it was early and I'm gonna hear the heartbeat at the appointment. So when we were at the appointment and she couldn't find it, I didn't necessarily think anything was wrong. I just figured it was still too early. And she had said that to me too, that it was probably too early. but she wanted to go get the in-office ultrasound. So it's just this little handheld ultrasound. So she got it, we put it on my belly, and we found the baby. Baby was in there, and it was a lot bigger than the ultrasound that I had just showed you guys. I actually have a picture on my phone, I'll get it. So this is the ultrasound on the handheld ultrasound thing that she had. So you can see that the baby's right here. It's a lot bigger than it was at 7 weeks, but she couldn't see the flicker of the heartbeat. If you've had a baby, you know that you can see the flicker of the heartbeat pretty easy, and we couldn't see it. So she didn't want me to worry, so she sent me down to the ER to do an ultrasound. And at that point I kind of figured that something was wrong, but I didn't want to accept it, I guess. Was this really happening? How? You know, everything seemed great, everything seemed good. So she stepped out of the room to call the ER to let them know it was coming down, and I called my husband and said that he probably should come over to the ER at the hospital because they can't find the baby's heartbeat. And I called my mom because my mom had been covering my daycare for me. I just wanted to let her know I wasn't going to be home anytime soon, so she needed to close for me. And she was worried. She sent us some prayers. So we get into the ER and we go in for our ultrasound, and we were both pretty quiet. Like, I was just, this was it, you know, this was the moment that we find out if our baby's alive or if our baby has passed. And we go in and she does the ultrasound. We saw the baby again. Tyler got to see the baby. We could actually see the outline of like the head and like the fingers and the toes. So it wasn't just a blob, we could see that. But we both kind of looked at each other like there's no heartbeat. The woman wasn't saying anything who was doing the ultrasound. But she did, before we went in, said that probably everything was going to be okay because she just had done our ultrasound at 7 weeks, so she remembered us. And so she did the internal ultrasound because we still couldn't see the heartbeat, and before she confirmed it, she just wanted to make sure. So I put the probe in, and like within 2 seconds she did a quick measurement of the baby and then had me pull it out. And that's when, I'm sorry. That's when she had told us that there was no heartbeat and that our baby had passed. She said that the baby's heart must have just stopped beating because the baby was measuring exactly 9 weeks. So the baby's heart probably stopped beating on that Monday, and we went in on Tuesday. I just wish that my appointment would have been sooner, so that maybe we could have noticed something wrong and fixed it. Maybe I'd still have my baby. There's just a long list of things that we could have, maybe, I don't know. I guess it was just, wasn't meant to be. So of course I start bawling my eyes out, and I had no idea that my baby's heart wasn't beating. It's not like I was even bleeding, and he still felt pregnant as ever. So we went home that night, we just went home. They sent us home to grieve, to deal with it. And then the next day, we had a choice to either wait for the miscarriage to naturally happen on its own, which could take up to a month, they said. We could do the pill that you insert in vaginally, and there is the other option where we could do the DNC. It's where they go in and they put you under anesthesia and they go in and suck out everything of your uterus. It's a very quick procedure, painless, you're asleep. I had to think about it. It took me all day to think about what I wanted to do, but I know I didn't want a miscarriage naturally because Christmas is literally in 4 days, and I didn't want to just be sitting at home wondering when is this gonna happen. And I know that miscarriages are very painful, and with my job and being so, I have to be very motive in my job and active, I needed to kind of know when this was happening so that I could tell the parents, because I can't be working. So after a while I called them back and I had opted for the pills because I hate going under. I don't like going into surgery, and I also just kind of wanted to say goodbye to my baby. I did lose this baby at 9 weeks, so there was a chance that I would have been able to see the fetus and see like its body and its eyes and its fingers and toes. So I wanted the chance to have my baby at home and say goodbye to it that way. I know you're probably like, why? But until you're a mother and you lose a baby, you'll understand exactly why I wanted to say goodbye to it. And I should probably just tell you now that this video is, I know I'm already like 10 minutes into this video, but it's going to be really graphic and raw. So if you have a queasy stomach or you don't like graphic things, I wouldn't watch this because it's going to get probably graphic. So I opt for the pills. And this pill will, after you take it, within 4 to 6 hours, you should start cramping pretty severely. Since the baby was bigger this time, because this is my second miscarriage. Since the baby is bigger this time, I don't feel good. Since the baby is bigger this time, it'll be a lot more cramping. And then usually you'll bleed for another week or so after you've passed everything. So I decided to do that. And so Tyler and I went and picked up the medicine. And I took the medicine that night around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I stayed on the couch all night, Wednesday night. And then around 8 o'clock, I started spotting. So we moved to go to bed because I knew that the pain would probably be starting. So I took some Tylenol because that's all you can take. And I went to bed. And then that same night, I woke up at midnight with full-blown contractions. Sorry, the camera had overheated. But at midnight that night, I was contracting really bad. I had woken up Tyler and I was contemplating whether I should or not because he has to work the next day. But I woke him up and I told him that I was in a lot of pain and that I needed to go into the tub because I had heard that the hot water reduces some of the pain. And I got in the tub and all I can remember is just being in so much pain, and the bleeding was still probably really light. It wasn't heavy yet. It was pretty light. And I just remember like feeling the contractions come like every 3 minutes, every 2 minutes. They were really close together, and I honestly felt like I was going into labor, like the same pain I had with Brielle. And I couldn't take any more medicine because I had already taken some before bed, so I was screwed. And I just lay there like yelling and moaning, and I was so uncomfortable. Like, I was in so much pain. And then I felt a big gush, and it kind of felt like my water broke in a way. And Tyler was like, oh my God. And this big thing of blood and a clot just came out, and you're probably like grossed out that I was still laying in it. But I felt like, as a mother who was losing her baby, I felt like that was probably the most beautiful spot that I could be. I was hoping that was my baby, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was just part of the lining. So eventually I had gotten out because I was bleeding very severely at this point. So I got out, and I just went straight back into bed because I felt like I needed to lay down. And Tyler had called my mom because I was in so much pain, and I just needed that. I think I just needed my mom. So he called my mom, and I had him bring me out onto the couch in the living room because I didn't want to keep him up because I knew he had to work in the morning. So we brought everything out on the couch, and my mom got there. I was still in so much pain. I think I contracted for another hour, maybe 2 hours on the couch, and I was hot and I was cold, and I just was in so much pain. And then I told my mom, I was like, I feel like I need to go and sit on the toilet and see if like things will come out better if I'm sitting up. So I went in, and as soon as I go to sit down, my mom was walking in the bathroom, and she was going to shut the door. And this big gush, another big gush, just fell out of me into the toilet. And of course I'm freaking out because I go to look to see if it was my baby, because obviously I'm waiting to see my baby, and the toilet was just all blood and I couldn't see, and I'm freaking out because I did not want to flush my baby. That's something that I was not okay with. I don't really know what I was going to do with the baby if I found it, but I was not flushing my baby. So as gross as it sounds, I told my mom I needed to see what came out. So she went in the kitchen and got like a ladle, and I know this is so gross, but we looked in the toilet, and it was not the baby. It was just the clotting, just, all kinds of vessels and stuff, but it wasn't the baby. So I was a little bit relieved that my baby was not in the toilet and I was still inside me. So I felt relief instantly. After that had come out, I felt instant relief. So I went back on the couch for a little bit and had a popsicle, and I ended up telling my mom that I was tired and I was ready to go back to bed. So my mom went home, and this was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, and I went back to bed and I slept until like 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock until Thursday. Tyler had gone to work because he really just had no choice, and my mom came down with me. I was still pretty bleeding. I was bleeding pretty heavily still on Thursday, but I had noticed all day that day I was lightheaded if I got up. Like if I got off the couch, I was so lightheaded. I felt like I was going to just pass out. And so I stayed on the couch basically all day, and that is so hard when you have a toddler. She just doesn't understand, and of course, like, I'm a complete freaking mess, and so it's hard to keep yourself together, not cry, because you want to cry, because all I want to do is cry, but I can't when she's around because I don't want to upset her, and she knows what's going on. I had explained to her that the baby is gone, but we will get her a baby eventually. So So Thursday, I had noticed no clotting, just some heavy bleeding and cramping, but I was cramping on and off. I was on and off having little small contractions. And then by the end of the day, I called my midwife because I just felt like my last miscarriage that I had, I clotted way more. I felt like I clotted for like 3 days straight. So I knew that something was wrong, and I hadn't seen the baby yet. So I knew that my miscarriage was not over. And you just get to a point in your miscarriage where you're like, okay, I am so ready for this to be over. It's painful. It's emotionally exhausting. It's exhausting. It takes everything out of you. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. I don't wish it on anybody. So I called my doctor, and they said either the medicine didn't work fully, which would be an incomplete miscarriage, so it didn't take everything out. So that they need to see me Friday morning at 7 o'clock. I needed to do some blood work to make sure my HCG levels were dropping. And then after, I needed to go and have an appointment with another OB to just kind of have an ultrasound to see if things are still in there. And then we will go from there. So Thursday morning, December 21st, no, Friday morning, December 21st, my mom and I and Brielle went to the doctors because, again, Tyler had to work, and we went to the doctors. We did my blood work, it went good, and then we had my appointment, which took the doctor like 2 hours to get into because she was doing a C-section. And I was not expecting it, what she was going to do. I thought we were just going to do a quick ultrasound, but Friday was probably the worst day of my life. She asked if we could do an exam so she could just see my cervix and see what it looked like, if it was closed, open, or what it was doing. And of course, I didn't really want to have an exam because my kid's right there and my mother, and I'm bleeding pretty heavily. It was just not a good sight. I'm exhausted. It's just the last thing I want. But she needed to do it. So we did the exam, and as soon as she got in me, she said that she can see the fetus, and it's stuck in my cervix. So I'm not going to explain what that looks like, but I think you can tell. Basically, the baby was trying to pass through and got stuck in my cervix. So I'm freaking out because I figured that they weren't gonna let me take my baby home or let me hold it or anything. And I didn't know really what to expect. I really wanted to pass my baby at home. I really did. I really just wanted to have my baby at home. It was very important to me to see my baby, say goodbye, have it at home. That's where I wanted it to be. But instead, it was stuck in my cervix, and so I laid back, and she went in and pulled it out, which took like 30 minutes. It probably wasn't even that long, but to me it was like so freaking long. It was so painful. She was like, it wasn't her fault. She was such a great doctor, but it's the pain that it just hurt so bad. She was like pulling it and tugging, and oh my god, it was so painful. I was crying. I think I was just really overwhelmed and worked up and exhausted. There was just so many emotions at once. And Brielle's freaking out because I was freaking out. And my mom had gotten up and she was hugging me and holding my hand. And so they finally get it out. She puts the baby or the fetus or the clot or whatever you want to call it in a cup, like a specimen cup. And I sat up. I was really crampy after that procedure was done. It was so crampy. I was so glad it was over because that was so painful. And I asked to hold the cup with my baby in it. I took a good look. I couldn't see much of the baby, but I know that if I was home, I would have washed the blood off and looked a little better, but I couldn't because it's hospital property at that point. So I looked at it and I just held the cup and I took a picture. I took a couple pictures on my phone so I could just remember it and just look at it. I don't know if that's weird, but that's how I'm processing this all and grieving. I think it's also pretty cool to see. It's not cool to see. It's not cool to see at all, but it's amazing to see what my body created in that little 9 weeks. Oh my God. I feel like a big baby. So the midwife had brought in the handheld ultrasound. She just took a quick look at my my uterus and showed me that it was still pretty thick in there. So she diagnosed me with an incomplete miscarriage and said that we needed to do a D&C that day in a couple hours. And that's when, like I said, you go under and they go in and suck everything out to make sure that everything is done and over with and there's no infection. I called Tyler because Brielle really needed to go home. I didn't want her there for the surgery. She had already been there for too much, and he got out of work and came right over, and my mom had left with Brielle, and we went down to the day surgery. They brought me right in. I got into my room. They prepped me for surgery, and I was freaking out. I did not want to go through that, but I also wanted it just to be done. I hate being put under. It feels so weird to me. I don't like it. It's scary. And Tyler was such a great support that day. I really needed that. And I'm so thankful for my husband and being there for me and my mom. I couldn't have done it without them. My mom and Tyler took such good care of me, so thank you guys for that. I don't know how I would have, and it's not just them too, it's everybody. It's my aunt all the way in New York was comforting me, and the parents of my daycare were awesome and so supportive, loving, and I just couldn't ask for a better support system. I don't even know how I would have gone through this if I did not have my family and my friends. So thank you for being so supportive. So I went in for surgery and the doctors were so amazing. The nurses were great. It was pretty painless, pretty quick. And in 2 hours it was over. I was really woozy after the surgery. Tyler had to kind of help me walk, but as I was just excited to come home and then see Brielle and my mom and just relax and get on the road to recovery. So it is done. My miscarriage is done. This is the day after I've had surgery. I'm very tired. I'm emotional. I'm sad. And the worst part is there's nothing I can do. It happened. I was actually starting to get a really close connection with this baby because we struggled so hard. We miscarried our other baby that we had 2 years ago. We have tried, we have done fertility meds, and we finally felt pregnant with this baby, and I was so excited. And I really didn't have any worry in me that I was going to lose this baby. I didn't honestly think God would make me go through it again. We were so excited. We went up and set the crib up and brought down all of Brielle's baby stuff. So that's all sitting in the nursery still. I don't think we're gonna take it down just because I'm hoping that once we can start trying again, it happens fast. Who knows, it might take us another 2 years, but God, I hope it doesn't, because I am exhausted. And I was just so glad that we were done trying. We were finally pregnant. We didn't have to try. I didn't have to do any of that. But here we are, not pregnant anymore and having to try again. I'd probably be an even more mess. I'm just thankful that I have one beautiful daughter that I birthed. That is it. I just don't have anything else to say. I'm sorry that you all were excited to watch my journey being pregnant, but maybe in the future God has other plans for me right now. So just pray for us and pray that we recover fast and we can have another baby in the future, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you all for watching.